For the first time, the pitch clock was introduced and the baseball fan world sky is falling. We'll talk about this on tonight's Locked On Astros.
Alvarez hits a high drive center field. Bierling's back. This game is turned upside down. There's the runner. Fly ball down the right field line. Tucker comes on. Kyle Tucker. This time they finish the job.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett Htown Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talks Astros. You find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can you find you at?
They can find me at Htown Wheelhouse on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. They can find me at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive. Positive. I don't like the pitch clock. Always Stros.
All right, guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen on YouTube. Just go and make sure you subscribe to us, give us a fat thumbs up, and make sure you make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, Google, whatever podcast platform you listen to. Go and listen to Locked On Astros podcast. So a lot happened this weekend. Games started. We got a game that didn't have anything to do with the Astros, but it ended on the strike three called when a pitch was not even thrown because the batter was not even ready at that 8-second mark. So I think what we're seeing, Brett, is we're seeing the umpires being really strict during spring training just to say, okay, here are the rules, here are the consequences. And it's just like being a teacher. At the beginning of the year, you're always told not to smile for the first month, and you're supposed to be super strict about everything. That's what the umpires are doing. They're just laying down the law, and then towards the end of spring training, they'll be like, you know what? I don't care anymore.
See, I'm glad that I'm not that stereotypical teacher because I can't not smile at the beginning of school, and I get that. I want to smile at the first spring training games. I don't want to be upset or flustered or annoyed. But, Eric, this whole pitch clock thing, it kind of sent social media into like this downward spiral. You would have thought that we dropped a bomb and destroyed the game. Now, I don't like the pitch clock, and I get a lot of the things and issues that are out there. In our second segment, we're going to share the thoughts because I just went to the fans. I was like, what do y'all think? Before we do that, we're going to talk about the game today. But it's here. And whether we like it or not, there is one aspect of this, Eric, that if it truly becomes a shorter game, that I won't mind. West Coast games, Locked On Astros, we won't be going to bed at 2 a.m. Now, I don't know if for 15 or 20 minutes can make a difference, but it will help on the back end, won't it?
Well, the first game was about 2 hours, 20 minutes. The second game was 2 hours. So that's not what we've seen in the past, especially those West Coast games. They seem to go three and a half hours, something like that. So yeah, that's great and all, but is that what we want? I mean, I enjoy the drama, the anticipation of the hitter and the pitcher both trying to strategize in their mind. What is he going to throw? What should I throw here? And then last year we had the pitch com come into factor, so you don't have to worry about the stealings of signs or anymore. But that was something different. But now we have all this. Now we have the bigger base size that's going to lead to more stolen bases, I think. In the first game, the Astros stole 3 bases. Are we going to see them steal a lot more bases this season? So there's so many. Yeah. Yes, I think you're going to see some weird stuff, but Kyle Tucker had some comments. We'll say that in a second about the pitch clock.
Yeah, definitely. Let's just get into it. Some of the things that happened this weekend. Justin Dearden, Eric, in his first at bat at spring training, takes a home run to left center field, right? You had him also hit an RBI double as well. He was actually 2 for 2 in that game. Him, Will Wagner, and Marty Costas all had 2-hit games. And Will Wagner hasn't just shown up with the bat. he's flashing the leather. He is diving all over the place. He is making some stabs out there. I told my friend today, Mark, when we were talking, we were just shooting the bull about Astros baseball, and I said I legitimately see Will Wagner as a future fixture of this Astros baseball team, and he said he's probably going to replace Jose Altuve when he's done. He's probably going to take his spot because that's kind of the position he plays. And I said, you know what, this kid's good. I mean, he has got the makings of a big time major leaguer, and it was just good to see him do it on both sides.
He's just got to wait 10 years.
Well, I don't know that Altuve has. How old is Altuve? Isn't he like 35?
I think he's 32 right now. So
32. Well, look, I
by the
mean,
time he's free agent, 34, and they're going to extend him. So
true.
let's say
Okay.
10
Well, if
years.
they extend him, Will Wagner will have to find another position. I'm just saying, and I'm not just basing that off of one game. If you go back and you look at how much he's advanced, and just how much of a student of the game he is, I like the way his game plays out. Urquidy was pretty much unfazed by the pitch clock, Eric, because he's the fastest to the plate
Right.
of all the pitchers.
Mhm.
So he didn't seem to be bothered by it. Although I believe he got a violation, but it wasn't any consequence to the at bat. I think he still got the strikeout. But we had a couple violations. I believe Endersby and Urquidy both got one where they were awarded a ball.
Okay.
So
All right. But yeah, I love spring training games when you have like 9 pitchers in a game, and
yeah,
it's just part of it. Urquidy pitched well. He gave up the home run, 2 innings, 3 strikeouts. Presley gave up 3 hits. He's getting ready for the World Baseball Classic. But then you had the rest of the Astros bullpen. Well, not the rest, but Neris came in, Brian Abreu came in, and then Jaden Murray came in with impressive stuff. He pitched 2 hitless innings with 1 strikeouts. Endersby gave up the 1 run, but he pitched 1 2/3 innings. He did get the loss in the game, but spring training doesn't really mean anything. But if you look at the positives from the game, Chas McCormick was 2 for 2. Jake Myers got a hit. Kyle Tucker got a hit, even though he said he felt rushed at the plate. And if you look at his hit, that's definitely something that banning the shift is going to help somebody like Kyle Tucker.
yeah, he was pleased with this hit, but from what he said to Julia, because exactly what you're referencing was a little in-game interview. He said the thing is you don't get to sit there and think out and have a plan, and plus, he doesn't use pine tar, so he's got that routine. You know who else has that routine? And I didn't know this. Preston Tucker is actually playing for the Padres right now. He's in spring training with them, from what I heard. So I don't know, maybe Preston Tucker's trying to make a comeback to Major League Baseball, but his routine is just like his brother's. Look, Kyle Tucker's a smart player. Kyle Tucker is going to be able to adjust over time, and the really good hitters are going to be willing to adjust over time. The minor leaguers are somewhat used to this because they had a season. I remember Jimmy Endersby talking to him about it, Joe Record. I know their initial thoughts were they didn't like it, but it's one of those things where the change came, and you have to go with it. You saw, dude, Jose Abreu, Brian Abreu looked really good on the mound. I liked how he looked good. I noticed Presley came in. Presley gave up a lot of soft contact, gave up, a couple runs. They got him in the middle of the game. They're trying to ramp him up because of the World Baseball Classic. But this was kind of funny. So Julia is interviewing Hector Neris. He was giving Framber a hard time. And he said, Framber, he's no fun. He doesn't want to play in the World Baseball Classic. And they were jawing back and forth at each other. It's just great, Eric, to hear these players interact with each other because the clubhouse culture is so different. What did Jose Abreu, though, say about his start? Because he started the first game.
Right.
What did he have to say about his first spring training game with the
Well,
Astros?
we'll talk about that in a second. I do also want to mention some more about Kyle Tucker, what he
Oh,
said
yeah.
about the
Okay,
pitch
go ahead.
clock. And also, what did Dana Brown have to say about potentially using Brian Abreu as a starting pitcher? But we'll talk about that in a second after we talk about Built Bar. This episode is brought to you by Built Bar.
That's right. If you're looking for a delicious treat and you don't want all the fat and calories, then you got to get a Built Bar. We just got through the holidays. You got through your New Year's resolution. Now you're probably headed to spring training. You're like, what can I pack that is light, but it tastes great? And let me tell you, it's healthy and tasty, wrapped in 100% chocolate. It's a Built Bar. They have unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. I'm not sure how Built Bar does it, but the bars taste like candy bars while maintaining amazing macros, 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't need to wait around to get a box. For years, we've been talking about the amazing macros. We've been talking about go to Built Bar, get your Built Bars at built.com, and you can still do that. But right now, they are at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. So head to your closest Walmart, walk to the pharmacy section, and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. If you're close to a Sam's Club, you can grab a 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie batter, and churro. You will thank me later. Built.com, the best bar in the biz.
On Saturday, Dana Brown was being interviewed on ATT Southwest, and basically he was talking about the rotation, and he said he's even been tempted about using some of the relievers and extending them in spring training. And one names that was brought up was Brian Abreu. And so there has been some discussions about it. Will it happen? No, that's just as something that he's potentially considering. So that's just going back to a conversation we had on our last podcast. So
he also mentioned Ronel Blanco in that role too, which,
yeah,
look, here's the thing, Eric. One of the key things that the Rays have done is they have a pulse. Kevin Cash has a pulse of his relief pitchers and where to use them and how to use them. No offense, but Dana Brown, as smart as he is, there's no way he has a pulse on these relievers yet. I don't think you jettison Blanco or Abreu into a starting role. I don't think that's a smart use of these guys. Blanco's trying to make the 40-man. He's trying to make the team this year, and he's done phenomenal in that relief role. I think you leave well enough alone and you go with what you have. That's just my opinion on that.
All right, to close out the Kyle Tucker discussion, he said these pitchers are the best pitchers in the world, and you're giving them more of an advantage, and you have to rush in the box, take some of the thought process that goes into hitting, think it could be maybe a little bit longer. And so basically, he just said that these guys are already good. You're already having faced Justin Verlander, Garrett Cole, and everything, basically. And
Right.
now you're taking away that thinking process. Like part of his dirt thing, yes, was probably about the not using pine tar and not using batting gloves, but it's also for him to kind of just settle down. And even pitchers, you sometimes see them walk around the mound after they give up a hit to calm down. They can't even do that anymore. So this is going to speed up the game. Yes, you're going to see 2-hour games, but you're going to see a lot more probably. I don't know. You're going to either see better pitching or better hitting. So
Well,
small sample size right now.
Well, I think right now, I think there are implications to impact both pitcher and catcher.
Yeah.
Now, if we go back to the original rules committee, which was 11 members, 6 representing management, 4 players, and 1 umpire, all 4 players voted unanimously against banning the shift and against the pitch clock. Now, someone on here asked this, could the clock lead to injuries, less time for a pitcher to recover in between pitches? Now, I don't know. I think what you're going to see is starting pitchers be pulled later on, and be pulled sooner. Here in a second, when we share y'all's thoughts, because we've got some fan comments that we asked for. There is someone that talks about that. I know velocity is going to be a concern as well because the pitcher won't be able to rest. Again, like you mentioned, Eric, part of that strategy, like Tucker said, thinking about it. Okay, 0-2 pitch, and
Wildness,
Blum
maybe.
even talked.
Yeah.
Blum even talked about it being an advantage to the pitcher because a pitcher could just, with 2 strikes and no balls, can purposely delay and get a ball called to where he's 2-1. He's still in a pitcher's count if he wants to think longer about what pitch he's going to throw this hitter. I just think we're getting further and further away from the game of baseball. And I think we're getting further and further away from the game of baseball and how it was intended to be played, all in the name of we need shorter games because people have things to do or people don't want to get off their phones or blah, 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 instant gratification. I want to see the numbers at the end of the season of the additional 20,000 fans that showed up because the game was 20 minutes shorter.
Okay. So about 66.7% of the people that voted in the Twitter poll said that they do not like the pitching clock. So let's see. This is one person that says they don't hate it. I think the clock is too quick, though. Games are averaging 2 hours and 30 minutes. I don't think we would have as much complaints if it was 2 hours and 45 minutes, which would mean there's more time on the clock, so we wouldn't be such a sprint. Matt, the Astros fan, said.
Yeah, and my friend Ryan Slack on Twitter, he had a pretty astute response. He said, I feel like I'm living in the twilight zone, that this is actually happening. How did and does it not get more pushback from people whose opinion actually matters? That's what I don't get. This seems like something that would have been nixed before it got this far. Too rushed. It's just going to cause batting averages to drop. This is what he says. Number one, hitters have no time to think of pitch sequence. Pitchers will adjust. Hitters can't. Two, pitchers being forced to speed up is going to hurt their stamina, causing starters to come out even earlier. Hitters facing the pin even more. Ryan Slack from Twitter said. I just thought that was a real level-headed response. It's not just because we are complaining because we don't have it our way. It's because I personally see some negative impacts that will have far-reaching implications. And what is Major League Baseball going to do when the Astros beat the Mets in Game 7 of the World Series because Max Scherzer comes in relief and takes too long and we walk in the winning run on a walk-off walk? You know what I'm saying? I mean, people are going to hate it when it goes against their team. People are going to love it when it helps their team.
Yeah, and it definitely, like we saw with the Braves game, I forgot who the Braves are playing, but the Braves player was called out on strike 3 because he wasn't ready after 8 seconds, which ended the game with the bases loaded.
Did you see that at bat? Because I watched it 5 or 10 times, Eric, and I couldn't see that he wasn't set. He was in the box.
That's where it goes to umpire's discretion and all that. And so it's just the umpires have to watch the clock. They have to watch the pitcher. They have to watch the hitter, and then they have to watch the pitch coming. That's too much on an umpire's plate, in my opinion.
Exactly. That's a great thought because how much complaining is there about umpires' bad calls? Now, the umpire that can't, like Angel Hernandez, who can't even call a strike to save his life, it now has to watch a clock. So if he's watching the clock, how is he watching the pitch? Is it an automatic ball strike? I mean, it's crazy. So we've got some other comments here, Eric, and we've got some good comments from fans kind of all over. One of the guys says, Roy Harding Sr. on Facebook said, so the umpires are going to decide the game based on a timer. I think they should leave the game alone, let them play. And then one other said this, and I thought this was kind of funny, by DA Daft M1 on Twitter says, my only real question is this. If they're going to shorten the game by 20 to 25%, are they going to reduce my ticket prices by the same amount? I mean, if I'm getting less baseball, Eric, and of course they're not, we know the answer, right? But that's the thing. And I can't tell you how many people have all said this, Eric. I enjoy going to the ballpark. I enjoy not only being able to watch the game, but to socialize. I like being at the ballpark for 3 or 4 hours because it's the experience. And that's where baseball, to me, they don't have the right motives. And it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Quite frankly, it's here. We can't do anything about it. We can hem and haw about it until the cows come home, right, Eric?
Yeah. But I mean, I used to be able to run to the other room to go get something in between pitches, but now you have to do it in 15 seconds. It's like,
so hey, let me tell you something, Major League Baseball. If if Eric, co-host of Locked on Astros, gets injured trying to get something and get back on the couch, so I'm joking. Like we're gonna start like filing lawsuits against Rob Manfred. But it look, at the end of the day, the people that are most affected by it are the professionals. My question is this: big contracts being signed, right? Money's being thrown around like it's nothing. I mean, Manny Machado just signed that massive deal. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But now these players, if their stats diminish because of the rushed game, you know what that means? Their value goes down.
Right.
And if they're going to place stat or place a player's their value on their metrics, and their metrics are hurt by this new rule change, that's not fair to the players. You know what I'm saying? I know they're professionals. I know they're big boys. I know they're grown men. But at the end of the day, you get to a point where you're messing with the game too much, and it doesn't make any sense.
I don't know if it's going to have that much effect on him, but to go off of your point,
Right.
maybe that's why there was such a big rush to sign these long-term deals this offseason.
Oh, good
So
call.
maybe agents were like, okay, well, with the pitch clock coming, we may not, like people like Altuve and Tucker who have this. I think Manny Machado is another one. Jose Abreu, they have this ritualistic pre-at-bat thing but now they have to rush it a little bit. So now they have to take that away. Oh, we forgot to talk about Jose Abreu. We'll talk about him in a second, but
Yeah.
let's go and wrap up this pitch clock thing with.
Okay.
We'll have to see how it works. It's only been 3 days. I know there's the Astros really haven't had a big issue with it yet. Other games have had some big issues. So small sample size, people are starting to get the hang of it. That's what spring training is for. Now, if it causes issues in a regular season game, especially if it's a team like the Yankees or the Red Sox or a team that a lot of people really care about across the league, then that's when it's going to be a big story. If it happens to the Royals or the Pirates or anything and causes them to lose, nobody's really going to care.
How long before a player, is it going to be a week or a month before a player gets ejected for arguing whether they took too long or not? It's going to happen. A pitcher's going to get ticked. Like Madison Bumgarner is going to get pissed. Max Scherzer is a fiery guy. You know what I'm saying? There are some hitters that when they're in the box and that something goes down and they think it was unjustly called, oh my gosh, dude.
Clayton Kershaw is one of those that has a long delivery when he's in the stretch too. So
yeah. Well, Clayton, hey, you know what? Clayton Kershaw, he'll be pitching a lot fewer innings because, he's had the injury history. And see, that's the thing too, Eric. Like these pitchers that have come back, maybe they've had multiple surgeries, multiple injuries. They live and die by that routine. They live and die by being able to do certain things. And I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. I think at times we're going to say, okay, no big deal. But I think other times we're going to really be bothered by it. I don't think it really had a massive impact on the Astros games, like you said. But there is going to come a time where it's going to decide a game and a key game, and I hope it doesn't happen in the playoffs.
yeah, and Brett's going to have a monologue about it. So.
Hey, you know what? And hey, to answer everybody, yes, this is Orbit on my hat, sliding into home plate with a World Series trophy. It's these guys, ATGLA. Dude, they got some curb bill hats. I'll be introducing another one tomorrow night as well.
Alrighty, so Jose Abreu said on playing his first game as an Astro on Saturday, he said it was very weird. A lot of things were weird. The color of the jerseys, the climate here in Florida is a little bit different. New teammates I'm just starting to get to know, but very fortunate and very appreciative for where I am right now. It's good to get back out there playing against different teams. It's been a while since I've been out there to do that. It was fun. The adrenaline got me going. So I guess the White Sox play in Arizona. So this is the first time he's been in Florida. So
yeah, because Arizona is a dry heat. Florida is humid, and we know there's a difference between. Because I've been to Arizona, I've been to Phoenix, been to a Diamondbacks game, and it's literally will be 85 degrees in the shade and 115 in the sun, and it doesn't feel like 115. But look, Jose, Abreu's been in Chicago his whole life, for his whole career. A seasoned veteran like that, there's going to be some awkwardness in the beginning. But I did see him and Dusty, joking around in the dugout. I just know this from what I hear from Astros players when they're interviewed, they absolutely love the fact that Jose Abreu is here.
You know what we should do? We should do a whole episode where we can only talk for 15 seconds at a time. Like I talk, then you talk.
That might be hard. You're talking about with like a pitch clock?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we could, and then we could have like a really annoying buzzer if we go over. No, that would probably scare fans off. Let's work on it. We need to get Jeff to get someone to put a clock that counts down for us on our template.
Yeah.
Goals.
Like that.
2023, y'all. I'm telling you, we're changing the game. We are changing the game.
Yeah. So every time that you go over, it will be. We'll have to think of the punishment or something. But today, Manny Machado signed an 11-year, $350 million contract extension with the San Diego Padres. They have so much money tied into 4 or 5 players. It's just crazy. But I know a lot of comparisons are being drawn to him and Alex Bregman because after in the next 2 years, you're going to have to extend him if you want to make him. If you want, as Dana Brown say, if you want him to retire as an Astro. So I know that you're going to throw up the chart in a second that shows that he does not compare. His numbers do not compare to Manny Machado, but they could. He's had a couple down seasons. Last season, he showed that he's on the resurgence. So he did play. He has signed a somewhat team-friendly deal with the Astros before.
Okay.
So if you're going to sign him as a free agent or extend him, he'll be 30 at the time of that extension or whenever he'll become a free agent. So that would be a 10-year deal that you would have to do. If you're going to do it for like $30 million per year, that's $300 million. That's $300 million for Alex Bregman. I don't even know if Jim Crane would even do 10-year deal. The longest he's done is 6 years. So, but I know you're going to say that is Bregman even worth that? I think a lot of that's going to be decided this year. And so we'll see that. But I know you're going to say that the better comparison from Machado would be Kyle Tucker, even though third base is the more premium position.
Right, exactly. And let me just preface this by what I'm about to say, in that I'm really glad I don't have a 15-second clock, but I'll try to be as concise as possible.
It's done.
Eric's like, yeah, right. Eric knows how long-winded I am. So here's the deal. Manny Machado has outperformed Alex Bregman statistically, okay, in the last 3 years. So basically what I did, and this was first brought to me from a friend of mine and a friend of the show, Robin Cypress. And he said, hey, I'm going to DM you these stats and let me know what you think. And if you look at Bregman and Machado, if you're listening to this on audio, you're going to have to go to YouTube and look at this because I can't explain all these numbers. That would take an hour. But the OPS plus right there, 147 Machado, 124 Bregman. If you look at the O WAR, Manny Machado is at 14, where Bregman is at 7.9, and you just go through the stat line and you can see that Machado is kind of on another level. I'm not saying that Bregman is not one of the best third basemen in the league. I'm not even saying that Bregman isn't an all-star caliber player. What I'm saying is, though, you've got to look at what value he's held Machado as probably being called the perennial or the top third baseman in the league versus Alex Bregman. Okay, now if you take Machado and you compare him to Tucker, there's a lot more similar comparison. Their O WAR is a lot closer, where Tucker's at 9.9, Machado's at 14.0, OPS plus, Kyle Tucker's at 135, and Machado's at 147. They're very close in home run numbers. They're very close in RBI numbers. On base percentage, slugging percentage, OPS, everything is a lot more in line. The reason why I go to the Tucker Machado comparison, even though they're in different positions, is I'm simply using the offensive metrics, the offensive value of these players. And I really think that Kyle Tucker stands a better chance of making that larger contract. Bregman, to me, can sign a long-term deal, but I don't think the Astros give him more than I would be shocked if they gave him 8 years. I'm thinking 6 to 7. I just don't see the Astros paying a player until they're 40. I don't even see them giving Altuve a 10-year deal. The only player I see giving them giving a 10-year deal was Kyle Tucker because he's age 25. I think it comes down to age. And again, I'm not saying this to down. I don't want anybody to think I'm bashing Bregman because I love Bregman. I just think that watch Kyle Tucker. He goes and hits 297 this year. He goes and hits 287 this year. He becomes a 30-30 guy, or heck, he could be a 40-40 guy. This guy comes up and does that. I think Dana Brown's got to find a way to sign him to a 10-year deal because the Bregman and Altuve contracts, go back and look at Altuve's extensions in the contract, the most team-friendly deal from a WAR perspective that anybody's ever signed, probably in the history of baseball. Altuve has given the Astros a major discount. I don't think he has any intentions of leaving. But back to Bregman, I just don't see it, Eric. I just don't think he rises to that Machado level when you're in there negotiating because he has had those down years. Again, nothing to take away from Bregman. He's a great player.
All right. Yeah, I agree with you. And we can continue this conversation another time. Jose Altuve, Jeremy Pena, and Martin Maldonado will all play tomorrow against the Marlins. This is on Monday. And Forrest Whitley will get the start. So this is confirmed. And Hunter Brown will be starting for the Astros on Wednesday. So I would imagine that they would both get 2 innings apiece. They're not totally stretched out yet, I guess.
Hey, real quick. Jay Roberts asked about Yordan Alvarez. Did we have something from Dusty about Yordan?
He's still not swinging a bat yet.
Okay.
We do know that Michael Brantley was supposed to hit on the field today, so that was that's a good thing that Michael Brantley is taking batting practice.
Yeah.
But we still haven't seen that from Yordan Alvarez yet. So I'm not super worried yet. It's still 2 games into spring training. It's it's February 26th. I'm already
in March.
To March. I want opening day to be here, I guess.
Dude, I want spring. Forget opening day. I want spring training, man. I'm so pumped going to the Palms, dude. Let's go. And JC Correa, friend of the show. Oh, I got to say this before we go, Eric. 5 players today. Joe Perez, Jimmy Endersby, JC Correa, Luke Berryhill, and who is the 5th one? We had 5 players that are former guests.
Jaden Murray.
Yes. So we had 5 players. Actually, that makes 6. I'm forgetting who the 6th player is. Anyways, 6 people that played today have been guests on this show. How cool is that, man? That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And we're next show, we're going to have to kind of talk about what's going on with AT&T Sportsnet. Are they in some financial issues? Will we be able to watch Astros baseball? We'll talk about that on next Locked On Astros podcast. Also, how good did Forrest Whitley pitch? We'll talk about that tomorrow. So there's make sure you tune in every day to Locked On Astros podcast. We are your team every day. And my name is Eric Huysman. He is Brett Htown Wheelhouse, and we are the Locked On Astros podcast. And go and subscribe to us, and go Stros.